Good morning, all. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 27th of August. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. Right, okay. Now, obviously, we had the move up on the Jackson Hole on Friday, and that was this move up here. And then we saw basically a 50 back on Monday. And we've almost come back up and retested the high on Tuesday. It's been rather hesitant. Honestly, at this stage, I'd quite like to see a retest of the high, if only because we're not really seeing anything happen from a topping point of view and so on. I'm skeptical about a further breakup, although it is a possibility. But we will see. But at the moment, we're not close to any sell signals here, really. And really, we came very close to a retest of this high, and I'd quite like to see that set up a potential level top. I'm wondering about a fail here. I mean, I think the I think this whole move up here on the basis that the Fed might cut a quarter point in September is a little silly. The Fed doesn't actually control interest rates, and that's been. Last time they cut interest rates 0.5%, the real interest rates on TYX and TNX went up 0.5% to 1%. So there's this misapprehension, certainly shared by Trump, that the Fed controls interest rates, but actually, in truth, it doesn't. So anyway, we will see how this goes. I'm keeping an open mind, and I am wondering about a retest of this high here, which I'd quite like to see. All right, just wanted to have a quick look at the end of August, which of course is coming up, and talk about days which are bullish. To the most bullish day in August, frankly, actually is today. Third to last trading day, S&P up 19 years in a row, 2003 to 2021, and SPX leans 95% bullish. We're basically neutral for the rest of the week. Going into next month, obviously the first day of the month is Monday, and it's closed on Labor Day. So next week, mildly bullish on Tuesday, basically neutral for the rest of the week. We don't get a strong bullish set up until the week after, where we've got 3 bullish leading days on Tuesday the 9th through Thursday the 11th. But anyway, so I think noting that today is a bullish leading day and wondering if we will see a retest of the high. Okay, NQ. NQ, we only made it basically halfway back. We're testing the daily middle band as resistance. We did hold above it on Monday, and I haven't had a look at yesterday yet, but yesterday we closed slightly below it. So basically, we're trading on the daily middle band at the moment. We trade closed slightly above it. That was at 570.17, and we closed at 572.61. So we're holding slightly above it at the moment, but obviously we're still basically trading around it every day. I'm leaning towards seeing, well, if it continues to hold this way, then the obvious direction would be up. On Dia, obviously, the others are not close to the daily middle band. We did hit the 3SD upper band on both Dia and RTY on Friday. Usually see a day or two's consolidation after that. SPX, obviously, we are well above the daily middle band, and let's have a look at IWM, where we are again well above the daily middle band. But again, we hit the 3SD upper band, and a couple of days consolidation is normal after that. All right, let's have a look at the RTY chart. No negative divergence on any of these. Again, yesterday came pretty close to a retest of this Friday high. YM came less close. But I'd quite like to see retests of those highs, and I'll talk about the bigger pictures on the hourly charts in a moment. DAX, this still looks as though it may be a bull flag, but we've been making some lower lows. We do have a potential level bottom here that could get us back up into a retest of this high here. So we will see how that goes. And I'm just going to move this trend line. And ESTX is encouragingly bullish because we've actually got a 60-minute buy signal fixed there. So albeit after a decline which actually took us below Friday's lows. But we're testing the monthly pivot there. That's good support. 60-minute buy signal fix, potential of a level bottom there. I'm leaning bullish certainly for today, and we'll see how far it goes. In terms of the hourly charts, on SPX, not close to any kind of a sell signal, but we came very close on Friday to a retest of the all-time high, really about 2.5 handles short. I'd quite like to see that made today. On the Qs, there is no obvious topping pattern forming here. Could retest the high, we could fail here and head down to the possible head and shoulder neckline in the 55168 area. Could this be a head and shoulders? Yeah, it could, just about. It can be pretty. But I mean, theoretically, one could argue. Certainly where it is now, because of course this would be an ideal right shoulder high, but one could argue that could be a head and shoulders. It's not the prettiest pattern, I gotta say, but I'm going to leave it in there as a possibility, because the right shoulder highs and the right shoulder high and the left shoulder high would be actually a pretty good match. If we break down directly from here, that's certainly something I would be looking at, but without actually feeling that the pattern had a great deal of charm. Dire, we had a lovely double top, and that broke up from that. So we've got obviously a back test of this broken resistance trend line. I do have a couple of options above it. IWM, I've got a couple of options above it as well. I'm not seeing any current reason to think that the SPX resistance trend line here would break up, and I'm not really seeing much reason to think that would happen on Qs either. But IWM and Dire, I'm definitely wondering about a break a little higher. We will see. This was already pretty marginal as a double top, and if we came down here, then I'd be thinking in terms of a head and shoulders now. Dire, I'd now be thinking in terms of a head and shoulders as well. It's and so really that would be the case across the board. We will see. All right, great. Let's have a look at the DAX and Nikkei. And hang on. Okay. DAX, no retest of this high here so far. Trying to break back below the daily middle band, which is slightly concerning in testing the 50-day MA support. We'll see. Nikkei, we have got an RSI 14 and an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and we're getting back down towards the daily middle band. This is looking increasingly like a short-term high on Nikkei, and I'm watching to see if this wedge support might get broken. All right, let's have a look at DX. Now, DX, obviously, we had a lot of disturbance on Friday. We had this big move down, which wasn't followed through and has largely been recovered. We had a weak 6-minute sell signal fixed, and that has now failed. And we're getting back over the month pivot at 98.54. We do have a better pattern set up on some of the others. EURUSD set up a nice looking double top, which is now trying to break down with a target in about the 1.143 to 1.1435 area. GBP USD still kind of looks like more flag forming. USD JPY, this could be an inverted head and shoulders actually. This remove these arrows and hang on, I'll just modify that and show you what I'm thinking of there. In terms of the right shoulders, this would actually be pretty nice. Let's have a look. Bear with me a moment. Okay, this is what we'll be looking at in terms of USD JPY. The one problem of this is it's actually kind of oversized. I'm thinking that probably rules it out. Otherwise, not a bad pattern. But if you look at where the target would go, it's obviously a bit high. That's and wait a second. But I don't know. I mean, I've got mixed feelings about it. The really nice pattern here is the EURUSD double top. But here, yeah, I suppose that's not completely out of order. But the target would really be a reversal back up into this high here. So we will see. But we do have an alternate IHS here, and that is the left shoulder, that's the right shoulder, and obviously they're a pretty good match. All right, USD CAD. Looks like a bear flag forming. Australian dollar, we've got a little top here which is breaking down. We had another one break down, reject back up to the high. Possibly this might do the same, but at the moment this seems to have some momentum to the downside. NZUSD, wondering about a retest of this low. Let's have a look on the bigger picture charts. Right, US dollar. US dollar, no current divergence. Still wondering about this bear flag setup. Bigger picture, obviously, this is the big bull flag here, and I'm still taking this pretty seriously. But I got to say, the Trump administration is doing absolutely nothing to strengthen the dollar. That's not a criticism. I mean, the fact is, an awful lot of economists tend to prefer lower currencies, and certainly in terms of Trump's blown hot and cold on this issue. But in terms of reducing the US trade deficit, without a doubt, a weaker dollar is better. So it may be that that's his intention, but whatever the case, he's not really been doing much to support the idea this is going to go back up and retest the high at 114.78. But we still do have a very nice pattern set up for that. Looking at USD, in the short term, little double top breaking down. This could be a larger bull flag forming. So yeah, maybe. GBP USD could be a head and shoulders forming. But we've already got one of those that's broken down and failed. Normally, we'd see a retest of the high after this. Looking at USD JPY, keeping an open mind. As I said, this could be a short-term IHS. Bigger picture, this could be a huge head and shoulders forming. Looking at USD CAD, we're not really getting any buy or sell signals here. USD CAD, there's a lean towards the high side because you've got an IHS which is broken up, but obviously that could fail. Australian dollar, really not giving us an awful lot. We'll see how it goes. I'm keeping a very open mind on currencies at the moment, but at the moment the nicest looking pattern is this USD double top, which has broken down. Although and we had a 6-minute buy signal yesterday, which has now failed. So I'm giving that a shot and keeping an open mind. All right, ZB, we've still got nice looking bull flags here. Now, I don't think this week the ongoing Trump attempt to take over the Fed is doing bonds any favors, but this still looks like an overall bull flag forming, and we've got an overall bull flag on ZN as well, which has already broken up. So I'm leaning towards retest the highs here on ZB and ZN. Let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts, and looking at the TNX chart. On the daily chart, no current divergence and not close to any. Obviously, basically, we've been trading sideways since April. Hourly chart, no divergence either. TLT, largely been trading sideways as well. Hourly chart, no divergence there either. This does kind of look like a bull flag, which is trying to break up. We will see how that develops. But at the moment, this is just trading sideways and we are waiting for direction. On TYX, I've drawn this as a triangle, and it's quite a nice triangle. And I'm leaning towards this playing out. Generally speaking, this would be a bullish triangle. That would be A, B, C, D, partial wavy generally, and then a break up into a retest of this high. That is a good fit with what Trump's doing with the Fed at the moment. Okay, let's have a look at CL. Now, CL, I was mentioning the other day that we had an RSI 5 buy signal on the daily. We've seen a bit of a move up here, and that signal has made the possible near miss target. We've got a weak 60-minute buy signal fixed here as it comes to back test the week of ever. Could see higher. We'll see how that goes. We've got a possible 60-minute buy signal brewing. RBOB, we've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed. Leaning towards all of these, seeing a bit of a rally. Do we have a pattern here I haven't marked in? Yeah, there's possible head and shoulders here, which is broken down. So I'm watching that with interest. I haven't marked it in yet, but I'm just mentioning it, passing to you, as it would have a target about the 1.91 area. Looking at NG, still forming this large falling wedge, and still looking as though we might have short-term bottoming action. Just to mention, just a quick update on the watch list. We are obviously in NG September. This was the last one, which was going to happen without much of a roll. In terms of the next 4 months, we basically got 34 going up on the next one, then 55, and then after that about 35. So between those, we're going up about 1.4 over 3 months as we go through November, January, December, and January. After that, we get into a seasonal decline again. But watching that with interest and noting that really that upswing period starts within 3 or 4 weeks, when we are going to be looking at switching over into the November contract. So we will see, but the longer we kick around here, the more likely it is that we are bottoming. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on those. And on WT, we had an hourly RSI a daily RSI 5 buy signal that's now reached the possible near miss target, and that could be it. We back tested the daily middle band, and we failed there so far, which actually isn't that encouraging for seeing more upside. Bigger picture, I'm still leaning down towards a retest of this low. This could be an IHS forming just about. Yeah, it could be. But at the moment, I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this low here at 56.06. If we were to see a hard break up, then we could be forming an IHS, which could take us up directly. But I have to say the fundamentals for that aren't looking great at the moment, but it might still happen. We had an RSI 5 buy signal fixed on HO as well. That made target, and we've now got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed. On gas oil, we didn't get a signal fixed in either direction. Bigger picture, we've got falling wedges which are breaking up on all 3 of these. So the question is, what are we going to be doing for the bottoming pattern? I'm quite liking retests of the lows. On gas oil, we don't really have an obvious reversal pattern at the moment, but on heating oil, yeah, we've got a potential level bottom here, or IHS forming. We will see, but at the moment I'm leaning towards seeing retest the lows, but again, more time passes, the more likely it is that we might be doing something else. Natural gas, we've got an RSI 5 buy signal fix, not done a great deal so far, and you can see we've got a triangle forming on the RSI. This is basically, as it's going down, it's basically consolidating sideways on RSI. This is a fair amount of positive divergence, and it is suggesting we're going to see at least a decent rally soon. Bigger picture, I'd be liking the downside a lot if it wasn't for the fact we're coming into this 3 months seasonally strong period. But on the bigger picture, that might just provide a blip before we go down and test this trend line. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at GC. GC, we had a little IHS here, it broke up, it made targets, no current divergence. I'd like to see a continuation up if possible. SI, again, I'd love to see a continuation up to come back up and retest this high. This is both of these really, gold, silver, this has been in consolidation retracement mode for quite a while now and not making the obvious high retests. I think we're waiting, just as bonds are waiting. Weak RSI 60-minute buy signal fixed on palladium. No current divergence on platinum. Could be a double bottom here, but it sure looks like a bad flag. On palladium, this is possible bottoming action on a breakup from this wedge, but if we get down into this trend line here in about the 105.60 area, 106 area, then at that stage I'd be just drawing the wedge as having enlarged. HG, nice looking flag, broken down, hasn't made target yet, looks as though it's getting closer. Target would be this trend line here, which is a retest of this low here in about the 4.325 area. All right, looking at the big picture charts on those. Right, looking at the gold daily chart, we have looks like an awful lot like a triangle here. Now this should be a bullish triangle, and we're getting back into triangle resistance. Wave counts trickier here, but that would be A, B, C, D, and we're in E here, although this has been very sideways even for a triangle. But I think we should be reaching the end of this here and setting up a retest of the high. We shall see. Looking at silver, I'd love to see a retest of the high here as well. That could set up a nice looking potential level swap, possibly set up a breakthrough. But we have hit a lot of resistance in the 39.40 area, and at the moment that resistance is being respected. On palladium, We have seen a very nice rally here. We've pulled down quite a lot from the highs. We've still got a daily RSI 14 sell signal fixed, and it hasn't reached the possible near miss target. We've got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed, which hasn't really been going anywhere. I was wondering about a possible retest this high, but that would probably be too high to be a credible second high, but double top in any case. Looking at platinum, I'd love to see a retest the high. We get some really nice weekly negative divergence. Again, we hit some pretty decent looking resistance. Daily chart, we still got an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, which has not made target yet either. Looking at copper, copper leaning towards the downside on the bigger picture. No current divergence. This does look like a flag that's broken down, but could be a larger flag forming here, in which case we could see a high. Waiting to see if we're going to see that. Ultimately, this should resolve into a retest this low here at 4.310, and I'd be leaning down from there. GDX, weekly possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. That's pretty close to failing, and we keep edging up here. We've now made a full retest, obviously, of the 2011 high at 59. 59.83 on the daily chart, no current divergence. Weak RSI 14 sell signal fix is now in some danger of failing. No current divergence on the hourly charts. GDXJ, not really an awful lot to see. RS weekly sell signal there, obviously also in danger of failing. Again, pressing up. Daily chart, nothing. Hourly chart, currently nothing. So we are continuing higher here. And if gold can actually finish this triangle and get back up into a retest of the high, there's every chance that we're going to go higher still. All right, looking at KC. KC, I'd love to see a retest of the high here. Possible head and shoulders forming here. We've just seen a bit of a pullback after a fairly steep rise. We'll see how that goes. On SB, this is still a possible IHS forming. I was saying on Sunday that unless it broke up this week, it probably wasn't an IHS. It might have a little longer than that, but not a lot. So we will see how that goes. If it isn't going to break up from an IHS, I'm leaning towards seeing a retest of this low. CC, kind of looks like a bull flag forming here. CT, we had a little double bottom break up here and failed. So the bigger double bottom may be failing. We could be heading back into a retest of this low here in about the 65-85 area. Looking at lumber, we've gone a bit lower here. We broke up from the falling wedge, and I'm wondering whether we might reach this trend line just under 600 to expand the falling wedge. No current divergence here now, and the buy signal here had made the possible near miss target. Looking at ZW, ZW possible bottoming action. Week 6-minute sell signals is reaching the possible near miss target. Corn, little head and shoulders here, which is broken down with a target at about the 403.5 area. Hasn't quite made that target yet. Soy, consolidating sideways at the moment. No real lean on direction. ZL, we had a double bottom, made target beautifully, and has been rejecting from there. Looking at live cattle. Continuing higher, possible weak 60-minute sell signal brewing now. Actually, yeah, that is a weak one. HE has come back and retested this high. This could be a larger bear flag forming, but it's getting to the stage where it might be too large. Don't have a clear read on this one. And that's the end of the commodities. So let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. Coffee, I'm now seriously wondering about a retest of this high. No divergence on the weekly chart, no divergence on the daily chart, but obviously it's looking a little overbought, and we are coming back from that. If we are going to set up some negative divergence, we could set up some with a retest of this high, and we're obviously getting pretty close to this possible flag resistance in about the 4.05 area. Looking at sugar, we've got this big apocalyptic head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 6.529 area, but we've got other options here. After a retest this low, some trendline support, so I'm keeping an open mind on that. Daily chart, we've still got a weak RSI 14 buy signal fixed, and that hasn't made target yet. And we shall see. I've drawn this in basically as either a bear flag or an IHS. I think that's what it is. CC, we are continuing down at the moment, and at the moment I'm wondering about a test of the big support in the 64.27 area. Looking at the daily chart, no current positive divergence. We could get some with a retest of this low here at 7337. Looking at wheat, RSI 5 buy signal fixed, not made target yet. On corn, Corn, we've got weak RSI 5 buy signal brewing on the weekly. The daily chart has now reached the full target. We haven't made it to the declining resistance in about the 403 area, and I'm thinking that might be a target. Looking at soybeans on the weekly chart, no current divergence, but we're now obviously breaking up from the wedge. But we still got unresolved business, possibly at a retest of the low here at 936.06. On the daily chart, we've got we've got very close to an RSI 5 sell signal on the daily chart, and I am wondering whether we might be topping out short term. Looking at cotton, cotton breaking up clearly from this last of the wedges to break up, but we've now got a pretty clear break up, albeit a fairly small one. I'm leaning towards this breaking up, and we've already got a very nice looking double bottom here, so there's no particular need to retest the low, though we might do that anyway. Lumber, this still looks like a bear flag. We've still got a double bottom forming here on a break below this double bottom support at the 537.54 area. I'd be looking for a retest of this low here at 352.50. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at crypto. Now, crypto, with the nicest setup either direction, was on crypto after Friday. So this is the setup on Bitcoin, which obviously got significantly worse when we broke below this trend line here, but this might still be a bullish underthrow. We had a little inverse head shoulders yesterday, which made target. I'm wondering whether this might still break up. We've got a nice looking sell set up here with this double top, which is breaking down, and we've tested the weekly middle band. Either we break that weekly middle band, or this is a write-off. But at the moment, this is double top with a target in the 99 to 100k area. Looking at Solana, we've got a nice looking double top here, but at the moment we're coming back into a retest of this high, and Ethereum is rallying too. It's got about halfway back up to a retest of this high. We've got nice looking double tops here, but at the moment they're not showing any signs of breaking down. With this could just continue higher, and we do obviously have some support for that. Obviously we've got some blue sky above with Ethereum having made a new all-time high. On Solana, it's unsupported now by the Ethereum inverse head and shoulders, which has now made target. But on Solana, we've still got this IHS here, and it's still got a target in about the 283 area. So we shall see. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. I will catch you guys again on Sunday. Everyone, take care.